It is now evening, Maddrift. Our second test has gone exceptionally well, though not quite as smoothly as the first. Everyone is safe, of course, a little uneasy, but safe. The feasting death was a bit more active last evening than we'd hoped it would be, but it did not attempt to enter the town. However, there is no other test currently being discussed as the enchanters, Queensguard, and myself, Judge Tolphier, work to find out exactly what may have been the issue, such as the noise level, or the location, or the amount of... Well, you get the idea, Maddrift, so there is no other test scheduled for the near future. I want to thank our volunteers as well as the Queensguard who are here to keep us safe, and the enchanters who are doing their best to maximize this new system's efficiency. And of course, I am also forever grateful to our beloved Empress for gifting us with all of this. Now, I was given a suggestion that asks me to read the story I have planned for the evening towards the beginning of the narration rather than at the end, so those of you trying to fall asleep might do so sooner rather than being forced to focus on any announcements that require more attention and may keep you awake. I am willing to give this a try this evening, but depending on how tomorrow after Lightrise goes in terms of response to any announcements I make this evening, it may or may not happen this way again. The story I found to read from Dzivia Night Terrors is called Skeleton Harbour. Just like with The Crying Warden, it is under the section called Folklore Horrors, so it may be real or it may be false. I certainly don't know. Seeing as we're not near the Shade Sea though, and not nearly any shoreline actually, once I think about it, there are no bodies of water close to Maddrift, but that's besides the point. We're not near the Shade Sea, and I don't believe that this tale should be truly frightening to any of you. It's not particularly frightening to begin with. So here we go, Skeleton Harbour. Queensguard who abandon their duties in the temptation of false freedom, lured into treason by the appearance of the Moonbridge and apprehended by their loyal Dzivian sisters and brothers, will drown in the blackened waters of the Still Divide. They will die at the hands of those they once swore loyalty beside, and sink into the bottomless darkness of the water between Dzivia and Hostwin. Their traitorous eyes will never again see the beautifully dark purple sky, nor ever witness the star-speckled lies of a foreign land. Those deserters will only ever meet the surface again once they are fetid and sucked dry by the depths, their bones yellowed by brine and age. Their remains will only return to the eyes of the living far from where the dark water of the Shade Sea claimed them. Pirates of northern Asta know that drowning in the Shade Sea will not grant them a sailor's death. Merchants of the dark waters know that to sink to the bottom of the roiling waves does not mean they will die with their wares. Only green sailors and hot-blooded youth think they can swim to seeable shores if their vessels strike low-tide land or cave in thundering storms. It is only those who are wrong that believe they are the exception and will somehow escape the merciless pull of the Shade Sea before their skin is translucent and their organs are filled with fish and weeds. Lovers left behind who wish to meet their fates in the pitch-colored waves, seeking to reunite with their lost seafarers, know how to see their loved ones again. Those who have persistence in reclaiming the body of a drowned friend, those who possess the dedication and loyalty to bury the body of those unrightly claimed by the shores, and those who know they can find treasure in the brittle, salted remains of souls long departed. They all know exactly where to go. They go where all the bodies lost to the Shade Sea go. Skeleton Harbour. The ravenous Shade Sea spits out the pickings of its endless meals in one place on the Dzivian shores. Somewhere along Dragon Shore there is a cave accessible in mid-tide. Come low tide, the entrance is lost in fog and dripping wet foliage. Come high tide, the damp cavern is swallowed by the endless waves. But scale the rocky sheer cliffs in mid-tide. Row into the mouth of the cave when the water has not fallen or risen high, and the Dzivian ground itself will change. Walls of skulls will curve around in an ancient embrace. The yellowed whiteness of the bones reflect the purple darkness of the sky outside into the fathomless cave. Under the dark depths are flashes of remains. Overhead are the dangling joints of bodies still containing sinew. Ahead is a harbour, locked together by joints and similar length bones, with a rope of coarse hair to tie off a vessel of medium size. Among the washing sound of Shade Sea waves is the occasional gurgle of a body not yet fully decomposed. It shambles in the dark over other bodies and bones, sometimes dropping bits of metal treasure, but more often snapping the brittle twigs of arms and legs that are the ground. Somewhere, maybe, someone cries. A widow or a lover or a friend who seeks and perhaps has found the one they knew that was claimed by the Shade Sea. More likely they weep because they cannot tell their lost one's bones apart from all the mountains of rest. And their cries fluctuate out of fear as another finger or spine falls from the ceiling when its last bit of cartilage finally snaps in the dark. It is a rare thing for someone to leave Skeleton Harbor. Rarer still for them to leave with anything they may have found, and completely unheard of with them escaping accompanied by exactly what they came to find. Treasure seekers come with high expectations and find only buttons from stringy coats. Adventurers dive in hoping for excitement and are disappointed that the only monsters within are those seeking to defile the dead. Romantics go to find their lovers and often stay to become one with the endless bones without ever finding the ones they're looking for. Only those who never forget what the Skeleton Harbor is, those who know the Shade Sea does not distinguish between the dead and soon-to-be, only those who remain fearful for their lives and ever mindful that they could end up there in one gasp of dark water. Those are the ones that might make it out alive. The rest become ground, piles of bone, ropes of fraying hair, platforms of floating joints, stalactites of loose limbs, and pillars of skulls. Like the Shade Sea, Skeleton Harbor welcomes all. This reminds me a bit of Sumi's story from Hostwin about the Still Divide. It was more of a setting for a story rather than a story itself. Of course entertaining and well written, but not really a story. Regardless, it is in the tome gifted to us by Citadel Acclamations, and it has helped to pass some time. Now then, with everything being out of order, I'm going to discuss the things I believe need to be brought to Maddrift's attention, or at least mentioned in case anyone is still actively listening. You may still bring your packages and letters and any other mail you wish to send to Queenstown to my home, the Judge's home, for it to be sent for free. The new Queen's Guard have not yet arrived, and the enchanters are still willing to make adjustments to the carts that will be taking the rotating Queen's Guard away after the new ones arrive. Also, the writings requested by Whisperwood Portal cannot be submitted yet. A few of you handed in quickly written reports to Gonjan today that are your best recollections of the last few weeks or so, but that's not quite what the Institute in Queenstown is asking for. What they want are day-by-day writings, not reports drawn from memory or fabrications of the future. If you have journals from your ancestors, those can be submitted now, or writings about daily life from when you were younger are also acceptable. Any writings from recently, though, will need to be worked on for several more weeks before they meet the criteria of what Whisperwood Portal is asking for. I do realize that some of these submissions will because of the Dove Courier fees. Rest assured, your writings will be mailed at no charge to you whenever they are completed. I didn't see anything wrong in what was prematurely submitted, but also as a reminder, these writings are going to Queenstown, so be extremely mindful of how you word things and what you write to begin with. Another thing I must bring to your attention is that staying in the Saw Desert, or in any business after light set means you must shelter there for the entirety of the evening. If the owner did not give you permission, did not invite you to stay, you will be expected to monetarily compensate them for the night of shelter, as they are expected to keep you there for your safety, their safety, and the entirety of Maddrift's safety. If you attempt to leave, you will be arrested. If the owner throws you out, they will be arrested. Everyone has a duty to be mindful of the time and see themselves to a safe location every evening before light set until light rise. There are absolutely no exceptions. I'm mentioning this because with the previous evening's mention of an alcohol shortage in the future, several of you made attempts to drink your woes away, and there was a particularly loud suggestion from one of the several people who were arrested late this afternoon that you wanted to stay in the Saw Desert overnight, and that is not illegal. Whoever said that is correct, Maddrift. So long as there is a room you can rent and the proprietor is willing to rent it, it is not illegal to stay overnight in the Saw Desert, or anywhere actually. It's not illegal to stay so long as you have permission. What is illegal is trying to go outside to return to your own home or anywhere else after light set, which in their inebriated state, several of the arrested individuals this afternoon were extremely likely to attempt. This isn't a new rule, Maddrift. It's not even something I want to make a Dove posting about because of how obvious it should be to everyone. But this afternoon's incident has forced my hand, and you are all going to be made aware that you will be arrested. And in the future, depending on how bad the situation gets, there may be harsher consequences for breaking this rule. And while we're on the topic of rules, that brings me to my final bit of news to share with you, Maddrift. The election for town judge, it's not due for quite some time, but the Empress herself has declared that Maddrift should undergo an immediate election. Why she's made this decision isn't for me to question or know, nor for the rest of the town to inquire about. Whatever is in the reports the Queen's Guard and enchanters and Extinction Keeper Laos send back to her, our beloved Empress, it has led her to make this decision, and we will honour it. Everyone is already aware of how this works. If you wish to run for town judge, or you wish to nominate someone to the position, you write their name on the list that will be posted to the Dove board come light rise. The top 3 or 4, if there happens to be a tie, will then need to make a plan for Maddrift that covers the next year, and the town will shut down for one day as everyone is invited to the judge's home, currently my home, to recast their votes based on the yearly plans made and the final tallies that are counted. Of course, as current town judge, I am automatically renominated to keep the position and granted a start of 10 tallies, but I also must make a 2-year plan rather than a 1-year plan for Maddrift's future. And of course, any previous judges start out with 5 tallies, but Maddrift has a way of only getting new judges when the old ones are no longer available, so there are no previous judges in the running. However, due to this, I will be quite busy in the next few days, and I request any questions you have should go through Gonjin first, as she has been given a collection of tomes with some easily found answers to the more common questions Maddrift deals with each time a new judge is elected. Now, I would like to return to my work in preparation for this, and Extinction Keeper Laos is patiently and politely waiting to resume their own work. So we're going to end the recording in just a moment, but I do have one last bit of good news for you, Maddrift. The home inspections are all but complete, so those of you who are remaining, please be cooperative and patient. It is almost over. And don't forget to sign the position for new buildings once you are able to. Have a wonderful evening, Maddrift. We will now stop the recording and replay it.